What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Late Night Lego. It may not be late where you are, or it may be extremely late where you are, but we're back with episode 5 with Brick-Built Replicas. Sorry, I always a tongue twister for me, but super excited to have you here. And before we dive into who he is and how he got into Lego, you can currently find these episodes on YouTube. Currently working on getting them to Spotify, hopefully soon, and iTunes, radio, wherever that iHeart, I don't know, whatever it's called. But yeah, so Brick-Built Replicas. Who are you, and how did you get into Lego?
That's a great question, and that's something I've been trying to figure out for the last several years. It starts to feel like, for all of you who have seen me online, or can tell by the defining colors surrounding you, you may have seen a couple of things of mine around. My name is Bryce. I'm known online as Brickbuilt.Replicas, and I build basically one-to-one scale Lego replicas of your favorite video game weapons, whether it's assault rifles from Halo, whether it's different things from Call of Duty or older franchises like CSGO. That's my bread and butter. I've always built kind of these life-size gaming creations because as somebody that grew up with video games, you always want to feel like you're a part of it. For some people, it's cosplay. For me, I turned to stacking a bunch of plastic pieces together to try and make something that was somewhat close to it.
Right.
Obviously mimicking a lot of stuff from the past, very heavily inspired by the older classic YouTubers like Nombies, for example. I mean, everybody grew up watching a lot of those larger Call of Duty Black Ops 2 weapons. So that's where it all started for me. The real life kicked in, the college, the work, the taxes, and all that fun stuff. So been on the low ever since, but not hiding. I promise I've been around and watching things. So always happy to be around.
Heck yeah. That's very cool, man. So was there a video game that really got you in to building replicas, or was it more of a creator? It was like, hey, I'm gonna try that, I'm gonna build this, and you're like, hey, I got something here, or what was that defining moment like, hey, I got something?
Yeah, there were really two periods in the social media side of things that I feel like were defining moments. The first one, obviously, being starting. It takes so much work to be able to be, let's say, 15 years old and prepubescent like me. So my voice was, although not great now, 15 octaves higher back then. So, I had a iPad and my sister's music stand that I took as a tripod. So I started filming back then, and that was the early side of it. That's where I would say a lot of it was more copycatting, as my name Replicas implies. A lot of the things that I do are not necessarily copies directly, but I'm replicating something that already exists. And then I started to realize, okay, this is getting a little bit not old, but it's not something new, something interesting. So then I turned to Counter-Strike. It was a game that I wasn't too familiar with, and at this point, I'm still not very good at it. I know there's a lot of people out there that can absolutely beat me any day. But I started looking at the weapon skins. They had some really cool patterns to it. They had some unique colors, and I just started messing around with that. And one day on Instagram, all of a sudden, some larger Counter-Strike account had found this. They reposted it, and the rest is history. So that was really the defining moment that transitioned from, okay, this is fun. It's something to talk about at school, to we're going to the big leagues, and then Lego conventions and increasing investment into it. But the core of it has really always been two franchises. Will always be Star Wars and Halo. Star Wars, obviously, with the Rebel Lug attachment on my brand as well. Been heavily involved with all those people for so long now. I think it's been since 2017. So I'm getting a little old here, but Halo mostly because it was the first real shooter game that I ever got to play, because my parents always kept me from that stuff. They were worried that playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the original PlayStation would ruin me for life. The second I got Halo Combat Evolved and went through the story, saw this really cool character with really cool weapons to design, I was sold.
No, I feel I can 100% relate to that, because I remember playing Halo. It was not as, you could say, gory as the rest of the games out there, like especially like Call of Duty and how realistic it was back then, that my parents were like, oh yeah, Halo, oh yeah, no, that's like airsoft, you're good, and I'm like, okay. And playing that and staying up late. Oh dude, Reach was my game, man. I because that's what I started. That's when I first found out about, like, I kind of knew about Halo and stuff like that, but Reach and being able to create your own Noble Six character, dude, that's what did it for me, man. Master Chief always has a place in my heart. But creating your own team on Noble Six, dude, that was worth it. And then the zombies game that you could play with that, dude. Oh my gosh, that was a good time.
It's near and dear to all of our hearts, and that's why I feel like I really bonded with a lot of people in the community over the things that I was designing, because there's a constituent of people that of course know about Lego. Maybe they're building things that are more minifigure scale and they're not used to seeing the things that I do.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you've got a Halo fan that sees like a life-size replica of their favorite weapon, and I'm holding it. And I've actually had that, translated even with other people's creations. I'm heavily inspired by Nick Brick. A lot of people know about him at this point. Just an amazing all-around guy, and he's inspired me for so many years, both as a YouTuber and a content creator, as well as just a general person. Meeting him at conventions and such, just to be awesome. And I built his designs now, where he's kind of passed it on to me, where there's instructions, and I put his Halo assault rifle together. And even just holding that, it's a probably 5+ year old build from his, and I built it during the pandemic. It was one of the things where I got heavily into Bricklink and making other people's stuff, and holding that was like, okay, now I understand what it feels like to be a viewer of mine seeing that for the first time.
No, I feel it. So wait, Nick is still in Rebel Luck, or was he in Rebel Luck? He was, right?
Correct. Yeah, there's a lot of oscillating stuff. I've myself have backed down recently from a lot of the high command side of things, just because I've got 3+ jobs at this point, and I'm still working on my MBA, as well as just generally working out probably 25 hours a day. So there's a whole lot of balance in my own life that I'm still trying to figure out, and that's why, I mean, if people would take a look at my YouTube channel, it's been quiet for, I believe, 5+ years. Since before I left for college. So for all intents and purposes, I've been out of the game. On the social side.
So before we go into like what it's like going through a dark age a little bit, I guess you can say, and still being interactive with the community, you mentioned you're doing like 3 jobs and getting your MBA right now. Would you like to share on that? If you want to keep it private, that's totally fine. I know it's the internet, but if you want to dive into that, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, no worries. So it's maybe very related to the stuff I do on social media. A lot of the calling for me in the business side has always been data and analytics. When I first started growing on Instagram, I was staring at those metrics and those graphs every single day, looking at, okay, what's the plus today? It got really obsessive to a point where that was kind of dangerous. So all of a sudden that translated to work, where I got into things like Salesforce to get really techie and all that, all the CRM platforms. So I help a lot of businesses across, let's say, the music industry, the gaming industry. I've worked with companies like Riot, for example, the people that make League of Legends, just helping them do a lot of sales and tech behind it. So kind of a consultant, kind of not, bouncing back and forth between those things. And that's been a majority of the last couple of years. Before that, I started in retail, as everyone does, at Legoland, California. It was only 20 minutes away from me when I went to college. So I started working retail in the big shop. And the interactions that I got to have with kids on the day-to-day, that they would come back just to say hi to me. For all of the, since this is more geared towards your audience on the Star Wars minifigure side of things, I do minifigure trading with the kids, as we all did at the park, but everybody would always bring pretty basic stuff. But my first day on the job, I brought, I want to say it was 2 Phase 2 Captain Rexes, every other single named commander, a lot of regular clone troopers, all that fun stuff. And I traded them out to the kids for the entire day. I probably went through about $6,000 worth of minifigures in the course of a couple hours. And, at the time, this was 2019. So nothing had really set in yet in regards to the clone market and the bubble and all that fun stuff. So I didn't know what I was trading. I was just giving away cool minifigures that I'd never use. And of course, then all of a sudden we get into lockdown. I start looking at the Bricklink markets like, oh, that's gone.
Speaking of Bricklink, that's probably gone.
There's a lot of that as well. But the market bubble was funny to watch. But the retail side definitely started. It was the transition from me building to me observing other people's passion for Lego. I started to get out of it because college did take over. I didn't party. I wasn't a super famous kid. I was a professional Lego builder. I mean, I went to a STEM school for an economics major. I'm probably about as boring as you could get on a college campus. But me and my friends and roommates, we would always be playing Smash Brothers until 3 o'clock in the morning, as you do in college. So it was a good life experience, and I got through that. So that was a huge portion of the dark ages, as you would definitely put it.
Gotcha. Was that the first and only time you've had a dark age, or has there been other dark ages?
Absolutely. That was the only one because it's still going, I would say.
Yeah.
Because I've found my life has changed so much in terms of passions, what I'm interested in, what I'm doing throughout the last several years.
Yeah.
But I started the Lego games so late. I only really got my first Lego sets when I was maybe 10 or 12, somewhere in between that range. I didn't grow up with it. I wasn't always building. I was building other things, Thomas the Train sets as a little kid and all that fun stuff. But I never got into Lego until about 15 years old when I started watching a lot of the other replica builders. And I was like, oh, this is a thing that I can try and do. So my first build, I almost pretty much directly copied one of Zatsunabe's shotguns from, I think it was Advanced Warfare at the time, the Call of Duty game. So it was like the Bulldog shotgun. I took a screenshot of the YouTube video. I'm like, okay, how can I build this? So it was pretty close to what he made.
Yeah.
I filmed it, uploaded it, and that's where it kind of took off. But yeah, the Dark Age happened right after I started getting popular. This was 2018, right when I started kind of uploading some of the more recent videos and started getting into production. I got a little too obsessed with the numbers. It started to become about, okay, now that I'm starting to get popular, what is this social media doing for me? And all of a sudden it was, I actually remember it very vividly. It was the middle of 2018. And in Fortnite, there was the LMG that was coming out. It was a huge thing. Everybody was talking about it. So I wanted to get ahead of the game. And I got about 97% done with the build. I still have photos of it. It looks pretty cool. But I looked at this build and I said, I have never played Fortnite before. I am not interested in this game. I am purely doing this for the views. Why am I doing it? And I never uploaded after that until now.
Oh, man. I feel that. I feel that. I feel that. That is, yeah.
It's a lot of things people don't talk about because we live in an era of social media where it's all about, okay, what's the next piece of content that you're putting out there?
Right.
Where you don't take a moment to realize and think about, why am I actually doing this? And if it's not for yourself, obviously the endorphins of likes are cool and all. You have to evaluate on a constant basis of what's really keeping you going on this.
Right. I feel that because like I just hit one of my milestones and like I'm super stoked about it, but it's like I feel the same way I did 2 days ago. Like when I was 1,000 followers short of that, you know, it's like nothing changes. It's like, am I doing this for the follows? Am I doing this for the views? Or am I doing this because I love Lego? And that's what keeps me going. Cause I remember I started a channel and it was doing pretty good. I was building Utapau and I was having fun with it. And like, I was so obsessed with the views, like in the middle of movies in a movie theater, I was checking to see how many views I had. It's like, I was just so obsessed with it. And like, I wasn't doing it for the right reason. And now it's like, I've realized like, I'll be laying in bed. I'm like, oh, I should make a video, but I am at 25% energy of putting in quality content or what I think should be passable for posting. And it's like, maybe let's wait tomorrow. And the idea is 1,000 times better, or the creation comes out 1,000 times better than I would have thought. And it's like, that realization and people saying like, oh, this is awesome. This is great. I love this. The likes, the views. It's like, I did it for the right reason there. And it was just so satisfying, you know? And I feel like that flip this time. Oh, it feels good. And like, then you got people behind you that, you know, like creating friendships, doing the podcast has like been a big change. It's like, it's just fun. Cause like, it's almost like as a kid, you'd have friends come over and you'd be in your Lego room, like building whatever. And now it's like doing it virtually. It's like we're in each other's Lego rooms and it feels great. And it's like, I didn't have that before. And now I have this and it's just like, this is awesome.
I like looking at it that way. And that's partly actually what kept me from a lot of building is with the virtual sphere. You get involved in, back then it was Skype groups. That's to get real old. And then that evolved to Google Hangouts, which evolved then to what we know as Discord. So I do spend a lot of time in the virtual sphere. I'm in over 100 Discord servers now that I have Nitro. So on a daily basis, I'm going through all of those, you know, doing my rounds, checking in. Hey, how you guys doing? That starts to take up a majority of my time. That could be a full-time job if you want.
Right.
But the communication part of it is also what matters too. Sure, it takes time, but the community is really what it's all about. It's about the people. It's about really bringing together what you enjoy with what other people enjoy, and finding a common ground.
Right. And like, I I'm not talking about anyone specific here or anything like that. I just remember as a viewer always watching like other people's content and always people talking about the elitist people, the people like just like, oh, I'm here, you're down here. I don't want to talk to you. You know, that whole 9 yards. I feel like ever since COVID happened and that whole like, wait, the only way I can actually interact with people is online. It's like, well, I got to talk to somebody. I feel like that completely went away. There may be some
Absolutely.
trace of it somewhere, but like overall, I feel like that has gone completely away. Like you can reach out to huge creators and huge lugs and huge this, and they'd be like, "Hey man, how's it going?" Like, "Oh yeah, I just love to chat with you." Or like, there's new fans of Lego who have become very popular, and they're like, "No, I love DMs. I may not respond to all of them because they may be creepy, but it's like." I love that like I can message someone and like they can shoot me an idea back or vice versa or like I get DMs every once in a while. Some people just like to send me memes for some reason. I find the most dank memes out there from these people, man.
I have somebody on Discord that has contacted me for the last 4 years, and I've never met them,
Yeah.
and it's literally just a funny photo, once a
Yeah.
year.
Right?
And people will do check-ins like that. It is very funny to see.
Yeah. It definitely is. It's unique. It's always fun. It's
But to
always
your
fun.
point, that's actually really interesting to note about how the landscape has changed too, and people becoming more interconnected.
Yeah.
I really noticed that at the first Brick World Chicago back after the pandemic. Everybody's probably beaten this talking point into the ground over the last couple of years, but what I really felt when I went there was a total shift from 2017 and 2018 Chicago. The YouTubers were separate. They were doing their own things. It was all about what camera they had.
Yeah.
Nobody seemed to have a camera at the first convention back.
Mm.
They might have been doing some stuff on the side, and great for them, but it really felt like the first time everybody was like, okay, I just want to talk to you. How have you been?
Right.
And people that I never really connected too closely with all of a sudden walked up to me, and we had multiple hour-long conversations between different groups. I couldn't even fit in all the conversations I wanted because everybody was just so happy to be back. And I feel like that's really the new direction that this has gone.
Exactly. It's like someone's voice sounds so different in person than it does in your headphones. It's something that serotonin boost that gives you more boost, I guess, to say boost again, than any like or DM could ever be, And it's just, I still haven't even been to my first convention yet. And I remember because like, especially being in California, there's like until now, there was none, you know.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I got to go all the way to Alabama or to Georgia or to Virginia. I remember like planning one out with my dad. He was going to take me. I'm like, he's like, ooh, this is like $2,000 for like just the weekend. And I'm like, and now like I live in Tennessee in Chattanooga. And I'm like, oh, hey, everything's like 3 hours away and that's it. It's so much easier. And so hopefully I'll actually go to one and actually meet the people I meet online. So it'd be cool to meet you in person sometime.
Yeah, this is not a sponsorship necessarily for conventions, but also on the other hand, they have been some of the most entertaining Lego community experiences I think I've had. Even the last couple of years I've gone, I hate to say it, but I haven't been displaying anything. I've purely just been going to interact with the people.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a cop-out. I totally get it. I keep saying I'll bring something and just never works out. Some of the difficulties involve trying to cross different state lines with one-to-one Lego weapon replicas. I've had some fun airport experiences traveling to conventions, so
I bet
it gets a little difficult to do that. But on the other hand, it's part of the experience.
You got a good one to share with the group here?
I will take this as the biggest compliment from TSA I think I've ever gotten.
Wait, which TSA? Which TSA?
It was in Seattle.
Seattle TSA.
I believe it was BrickCon on the way out or the way back. I made the genius idea as a 19-year-old to transport my Lego M1 Garand, the historical rifle, in a rifle case. Because I figured if I was going to be bringing a replica of a weapon, I might as well be obvious about it, not try and hide it.
Yeah.
So this was my first time flying on my own. Walked into the airport, immediately they stopped me, and they put me through armed security. They did not speak English, so I was trying to communicate with them to explain, like, guys, this is Lego. I can take it apart and show you.
Yeah.
But they put me in through armed security. They ran it through the metal detector, and nothing showed up on their scans.
Oh man!
So they kept looking at me like, "What did you bring?" And I'm like, "Guys, this is Lego." So they opened it up and they started taking photos. They were laughing about it. So I got a
That's
few subscribers
hilarious.
in Seattle's
Heck
TSA.
yeah.
Hello, if you guys are watching out there, but
Yeah,
they
right.
said it looked real, so I will absolutely take that one.
Oh, dude, that is awesome. That is awesome. I cannot relate, you know. TSA usually likes to pull me aside because I'm bigger and I always wear like bigger jackets. So I don't share the same fun story, but I'm glad you had that awesome experience, and that's just so
The
funny
best
to me.
moment was looking at the guy to my right who was actually flying and carrying a weapon. So he was transporting it through the plane, and he's like, "So, what do you got?" And I'm like, it's almost in tears, like, "This is a
Yeah.
Lego rifle. I don't know what's happening. You know, first
It
time
doesn't even
flying
shoot,
alone. What do you
man.
do?" But I think, you know, I've obviously learned my lesson.
Yeah.
Break it down and ship it is obviously the way to go, and I will
Oh,
definitely be
okay.
doing that in the future.
So you actually like ship it to the hotel or to a
Yeah,
friend nearby?
there are a lot of people
Interesting.
that in the community that are just really genuinely good people that are more than
Yeah.
happy to, you know, you can ship it to them and they'll bring it for you.
Yeah.
I've worked that out a couple times.
That's pretty cool. I always feel like, as I say again, I've never been to a convention, so I can't personally relate to this, but I've heard people talk about this on their channels and stuff. But like they'll have displays of just tons of expensive minifigures, and no one will grab them. And it's like we live in a world that so many people would just grab that so easily. But it's cool that there's still like this big community, but tight knit community that like, no man, he has that. That's his, and I'm gonna appreciate that he has that. You know, no one's
There
gonna
is an
touch it.
integrity to conventions that I really do
Yeah.
respect. We've had our years of messing with people's builds, you know, a long time
Right.
ago and throwing things around like that.
Yeah.
Sure, you get some of that at conventions. That's just part of the shenanigans. But the real
Exactly.
integrity still stays, that nothing disappears
Right.
at the end of the day, which is really cool.
Well, and it's like it's friends on friends normally doing that, and it's expected to happen that
Right.
way. Hopefully.
It's a part of the initiation, one might say.
Exactly. Exactly. So we got some comments here. Tyler TNF. I am here, my friends, for a drop in. Hello, Tyler. Hello.
Good evening and afternoon and any other time zones.
And good night.
Yeah.
And Brick Hive. What's up, buddy? How's it going, man? So speaking of Rebel Lug, as I see it right there on your chest, I know my camera's faced over here, so it doesn't really look like I'm looking at you, but my big TV's right there. Did Rebel Lug end up reaching out to you, or did you apply to Rebel Lug?
It was a bit of both at the time because this was really initially when I was a nobody, I believe in 2017. This was before any sort of traction or following. It was my first convention and I was purely just out there trying to find people, trying to figure out what's going on here. So I had met a couple of them. I've been really tight with a lot of people in Rebel Lug for years now, between people like Chris Productions in the past and such, that, you know, they're just all around good people. So after some amount of time of kind of hanging around them, not necessarily being pushy about it, but just, you know, being around their presence, they asked me if I wanted to join. And this was 2017 Chicago, I believe, and I didn't really know what a lug was, so me being me said, sure, I'll be a part of whatever this is. Since then, started to take initiative in collabs, started to get involved in some of their stuff. Like they did Nick ran a 1-to-1 blaster collab that I thought was just incredible because we brought people into our world. And they knocked it out of the park. There's like 20 plus builds that are all awesome. I never posted mine officially, but it was on the channels. And it was a Sith Trooper blaster. I've still got the helmet that I'm working on for the last, 5 years back there. That'll be done one day when I can actually finish, putting two pieces back together. But that was a really tight group of people that I hung out with for plenty of time, and then started taking over admissions. That was an entirely separate beast. It wasn't necessarily forced on me, but it was also just kind of like, hey, do you want to do this? Sure.
Yeah.
It seems to be kind of the story of my Lego career. So after taking admissions, people started reaching out, started having communication with a lot of prospective members, a lot of back and forth, and hey, I applied 3 months ago. What do you think about this new build? Should I try it again? And just really authentic people reaching out. Some people applied 5 or more times, in my career span of doing the admissions, and then they eventually got in. And they're like, this is awesome. So excited. So I really got to foster the next generation of people that have at this point replaced me. And it's great to see the fresh blood really step up to the plate and just do a lot better.
So with admissions, was it just you, or is there like a how did that work? Was it like, oh, someone applied, they sent you their builds, you're like, okay, out of these 10 people, these 3 people had the best builds. What do you guys think of this? Is
That
that
is
kind of
exactly on the
okay?
mark. I don't know if you did your
Okay.
research beforehand, but that's pretty much how it went. I had a committee of probably about 6 or so people on a
Yeah.
monthly basis, where first week of the month, everybody that applied to the Google spreadsheet basically
Yeah.
rounded them all up, brought it to my committee and said, "Hey guys, take a look through this, leave some comments."
Yeah.
And of that batch, we're gonna bring maybe 20% of them to the final monthly
Mm.
vote. Figure out who that 20% is, and
Yeah.
from the 80% maybe that didn't go through, I take that feedback and give it back to them as the initial, saying,
Oh,
hey,
that's cool.
by
That's
the
a good
way,
idea.
this is what we were saying tangibly, and this is what we're
Yeah.
thinking. So there was
Yeah.
always that feedback loop between us and the applicants.
Dude, that's good. That is awesome. Because I feel like I was just about to ask, and you don't have to go into this if you don't want to. That's totally fine. But like, did anyone like get upset and just like write you guys off? But now hearing that like you guys gave constructive criticism, like, hey, we didn't disappreciate your, we appreciate you applying and we appreciate you building, and we like some of it, but it's just not to where our standards are. You guess you could say, for layman's terms. That may be harsh to some viewers, but I like that. Like, hey, what we're looking for is this, and this is how you could do it possibly. I really appreciate that, because I think that is awesome. That is like, because I that's where my guest came from, because like I've helped hire people on jobs and stuff like that, and it's like that's what we're looking like. Here's 10 people. Okay, we're probably going to end up with 1 or 2, and that's it, because they're the best.
Yeah, I'd love to let everybody in at this point. If it was just an open application, we'd have some really amazing people. And there have been some tough decisions over the last 2 years, 3 years that I've been doing this. But yeah, there will always be some sort of customized feedback. I made sure of that every single time, and I don't think I ever had any like real negative responses, because I was pretty open in communication. And they would always come back and say, "Hey, based on your feedback, here's what I did to change," or not necessarily change, but here's what I applied. And it would be significantly better. And they got in, and it was really awesome to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Because people just want to know what the feedback is. We live in an age of social media where it's all about feedback. So the more I can provide it, the better the results were.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to you, man. I think that characteristic, especially in a professional setting, will take you very far in your life. And I know Matt, kudos made me nothing, but I want to validate you on that. That is,
I'll take it. That's more feedback too to add to the list here.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know much about Rebel Lug, but what I do know is the social media of it. And whoever's running the social media account that I've seen recently is doing phenomenal. It looks so professional. And I love that. Like, this is the work in progress Wednesday. Here's fan Friday. Here's finished whatever. And like, it just looks beautiful. It's like, it's just awesome. And was that still something? Because I know it comes from the Discord. Was that something that happened like still 5 years ago when you were in it?
It's always been there. That level of presentation has
Mm-hmm.
always been around since the times I've been involved, whether or not it was, the like Whip Wednesdays, like you're mentioning, for example, or really kind of throwing new stuff out there. There was always that level of professionalism to it, I think, that I saw, at least outwardly, which was cool. All the builds were always polished and edited and all that fun stuff. It's not always necessary. I've seen plenty of good builds that were shot on like a Polaroid camera from the 1930s, and they looked really cool as builds. So there's always a balance between the two. But we've really had some openings lately in the last couple of years where we as leadership have said, okay, we'd love to have these initiatives. Does anybody want to step up and run this? And new members, the people that were really starting to kind of filter in, are stepping up and saying, hey, I thought of this idea for, let's do a YouTube series of XYZ. Sure, figure it out, run it, let's do it, and we'll give you the resources you need to try it out. And that's where a lot of this recent growth has come from.
Yeah, I just love it, because it's like, it looks so professional, and I think I've always felt like Rebel Lug was very, very professional and very not high class in the way people mean it to be, but high class in the way content is created, and that there is no, oh, well, we took a 70% on this edit. No, it's like everything's 100. Like, we do everything 110% here. And
Right.
I always think that's great. And I wish I had the energy for that, because it'd be cool to be a part of a lug or run a lug that's like keeping people accountable. It's like I'm running around doing so many other things that I'm barely keeping at 100% doing what I do.
Well,
now.
it's starting to get really interesting too with the online advent, like you've been mentioning over the course of this discussion, that there are so many lugs now.
Yeah.
And there are some that actually do a lot more interesting initiatives too over the last several years and really have grown.
Yeah.
And there are people that are members of 7 Plus. You know, for example, we call it in our community gathering the Infinity Stones of the lugs. I'm very guilty of a lot of that stuff too. I have my hands in a lot of different sides of things, so I totally understand it. And it does impact how you're able to commit to one group. It used to be like the community was so narrow that you would only be in this one Skype group every single day, and that was it. Now it's okay, where do I go? And there's a lot of navigation there to try and figure out. So that's still being worked on.
Exactly. Well, and especially with this whole new wave of new Lego fans, just from like, since Lego has branched out into Mario and Sonic and more Jurassic Park sets, even though we've done it 1,000 times, they're still bringing out more, which is fine. They're getting better. Harry Potter and more Star Wars, and just the Star Wars content. It's like people are like, oh, I just saw The Mandalorian and here's a new set for it. I want that, you know? And so it's kind of cool. It's like this whole new wave. And I feel like that really changed a lot of the community, not for worse, but a lot for better sometimes. And it's like, sometimes I'm like, holy cow, like anyone could have 10,000 followers now. And it's like, wait, who is that? I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, I've started to have a lot of that at the convention side of things. There will be people that are going around in groups with different cameras, and I don't know who they are. I'm so out of the loop. I came back from, only YouTube and Instagram being the social media platform, then left for college. And by the time I came back to try and post again, there was TikTok, Snapchat, Reels. There were so many different types of content that I couldn't figure it out. And to this day, I still don't understand a lot of it. I don't even go on, TikTok, for example. I'm not a boomer necessarily, but I can't figure that side of things out, and I'm still working on it because I know that that's the direction things are going, and I'm going to have to figure it out at some point if I want to do this.
Right. No, I feel it's like my girlfriend was like, you gotta try TikTok. You gotta try TikTok. That's where you're going to make money. And I'm like, I'm posting to TikTok and I'm like, I have no idea what I am doing right now. I'm like, because I've made everything for Instagram and for YouTube. And then I've heard the whole thing like, well, if you make it on TikTok, they have a great editing platform for short-term content or short-form content, especially for creators, to make it really easy. But apparently, like when you download it and save it, there's like all like the coding behind it that when you post it on Instagram picks it up and it's like, well, we're not going to promote that video since you didn't edit it on our platform. And
it's almost like you have to film 5 different videos for the same build.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I've noticed. And there are people that can do that full time. One of my favorite YouTubers in the community right now is Riley or Brick Science. He has been just a phenomenal friend for so many years now. And all of a sudden his channel just blew up. He's over 1 million subscribers right now and posting all the time. And it's always a creative new thing. But you also notice, if you really pay attention to the social media, it's not just a 13-minute YouTube video.
Right.
It's 13 series of reels that are posted and a TikTok and his other account and this and that. And it's like, how do you have the time to do that?
Right.
That's the full-time job, and it worked. And that is amazing to see. If you can really dedicate your whole life to that and make it a passion that turns into a career, all the more power to you, and I will support that 100%.
Right. Well, and there's some creators that I've heard, they're like, yeah, I got my whole next 2 years made and ready to go. And like for the next 2 years, they have it all on auto what's it called? Auto upload. And it's just like, I'm like, dude, that must be nice.
And I don't even know how to pick up a camera anymore.
Right. I'm like, dude, that is some serious dedication. And so I'm like, wow, it's impressive. It's very impressive. But yeah, it's like, I'm like, oh, I'll post to Instagram. Instagram and YouTube have always been my main place, because Instagram is, I feel like, great for promoting yourself, but YouTube is where you're going to make money. And now TikTok is where you make money, but it's like YouTube and Instagram seem to work pretty well. It's easy to get like one base to another base with all your fans or your your followers, I guess.
Right.
But like from TikTok to anything else, or from something to TikTok, it's hard because it's like two different kinds of people, and
I just tried experimenting
unique.
with this. I literally went into TikTok for the first time a couple weeks ago. And now that I've been lifting, I made an account that was a Star Wars weightlifting account. It's totally cringe, and it was disassociated with me as a person, but I just wanted to do it as an experiment of how do I make content in this new landscape. I didn't know how to do it. I don't want to mess around with my Lego Instagram because I've gone from almost 10,000 followers to I think 6,500 now. So that platform for me right now, it's not ready. I need to build something and have it ready and make that a real thing before I mess around with it.
Right.
So I made a burner account of this Lego or Star Wars weightlifting just for fun. It's called Boba Fett because I've got a Black Series Boba Fett helmet and I put it on. It's like, you know what? I'm going to make some funny things. And I just started messing around with it and did some really simple edits, posted it. A couple things blew up. And a couple of memes that I'd put out there apparently started doing really well on Reels. So I'm using that as a way to practice on the side how to bring that back into my passion. And I think that's what a lot of people could really use because they're so scared about protecting their core brand that they don't want to experiment because they don't want to fail. So this is I don't want to say my failure, but I'm only at 183 followers on that account. And as of today, at least. And it's just something that I'm throwing things out there whenever I feel like being creative. At the end of the day, it's been a long work day. Let's go film something cool. Put on a helmet, do something stupid and post it. And if it does well, great. If it doesn't, I don't care. I was satisfied.
Yeah, exactly. And that like goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like doing what you want because it's quality to you, And I think that is key. And I feel like a lot of creators are figuring that out more. And I feel like there's going to be some creators that have started now and even in the past 3 years that are going to be around for a long time, and I definitely think that's awesome. Doing the Boba Fett, that is amazing. I love that, dude. I'm definitely gonna go find that later.
It's not gonna go anywhere probably. I'm not expecting this to be like a career or anything like that. But what I've started to realize is it doesn't need to be. I have 3+ jobs that are getting me enough money on the side to be able to support the life that I have right now, at least. I mean, based on the Lego collection that I've amassed over the years, I'm very grateful for what I have. But this is like, it does take some extra time. And if I don't feel like posting, I won't. Just figure it out. If you want to do something that day, great. Post something, edit it a little bit. And if you feel really motivated and you don't want to film anything, write it down in your notes. I literally have a notepad of just content ideas of funny Star Wars lines turned into this. And when I want to make it, I will resource that.
Right. That's a good idea. I think I should start doing that. I know I started doing that like on my phone notes. I keep hitting this thing. I just got this yesterday. I'm like, bam, bam, bam. But I agree. I keep using my phone notes, but I always forget that it's there.
Motivation is valuable. Use it when you have it. It's 3:00 in the morning. I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh, I have an idea. What if I did XYZ with Star Wars? And this is funny because this is a pun. I'm not going to film it right now because I'm not going to get out of bed, turn all the lights on, set up a camera and stuff. But it's like, okay, write it down and I'll remember it for the next time and pull that back because memory is important to be able to remember why you want to do that.
Definitely. Now, speaking of motivation and coming back, do you have anything you could share that you have planned in coming back, like future builds and stuff, or are they kind of top secret right now?
Yeah, no, I've never kept anything top secret. And that's actually a big problem of mine because I looked through Instagram creates automatic reels for you and things like that suggested based off of your past stories. So I had a big reflective moment a couple weeks ago where I saw all the whips that I posted over the last 5 years. There were, like the Fortnite gun I mentioned, for example. There were 5 or 6 builds from Destiny 2, a game that I was absolutely obsessed with for so long. And I loved the game. There was a purple gun I was building. There was an exotic fusion rifle that I was building. And I had so many of these things maybe halfway or more done. There is like I mentioned, the Sith Trooper helmet. It is almost completely finished, sitting in the corner of my room for so many years now. The blaster that I built for the collab and never actually filmed and posted was because I never fully connected the grip to the rest of the gun. I couldn't figure it out at the time.
Oh.
So it's sitting there, you know, almost done for the last several years too. Went with me in the move. And so a lot of those things I posted, and I feel like what happened is I gained the validation and the endorphin rush of knowing that I got far enough and published it. And I got the feedback saying, oh, that looks cool. It's like, okay, I don't need to finish it now because I got my feedback. And I think that's why a lot of that sat there. So what I'm working on right now is a return to form. I really love Halo. And I really liked Halo Infinite when it came out. It's the first game in a very long time that when I finished the story in single player, I sat there and like just zoned out for a little bit because this hit me. And so the community sucked for the first couple of years. They're like, this Halo game is bad. They're not servicing it. So I was working on some builds and it's like, I just don't have the motivation to finish this because nobody likes the game and I do. But then I realized it's not about them. So I started working on the new weapons, the shock rifle and the disruptor energy pistol. They're two like energy-based weapons in the game that are new to the franchise, and they just looked really cool. So I got really ambitious when I was building those. This was probably about 2 years ago. I started on the shock rifle, and I printed out the whole cardboard thing to scale so I could build it. And then I got a Blender model. I've got a whole projector behind me where I can project the Blender model onto now and rotate it around in real time and build. So I was getting all this fancy stuff. I was getting lighting for it. I was lighting up the inside of it. I've never done lighting before. So I was doing so many things that I wasn't ready for yet because I hadn't built in 5 years. So I got about, I don't know, 60% done with it. I wasn't building it the right way. I didn't start from the inside of the structural integrity, which matters to this stuff if you want to move it around at a convention. So Brickworld Chicago was coming up, and I had a breakdown where I was like, I can't finish this. I'm not ready yet. Because I was planning, oh, this is going to be a big comeback year. I'm going to go to a convention, bring my Master Chief cosplay. This is going to be awesome. And I failed myself, and I worried about that for a very long time. But it was purely just because I needed to start off again. I needed a restart. I needed to figure out how to build. I needed to learn, not just go 130% immediately after getting back into it. So I have the project on the side right now for both of those weapons, and I haven't worked on them in a while. I'm just letting them sit right now. I'm doing my research. I'm planning on how to. I have YouTube videos that I've saved now, how to do lighting, how to do structural integrity. I'm taking engineering courses online on the side just to learn again. So there's a lot of that stuff that I needed to figure out. And then I need to figure out how to make the content. And that is where the big problem comes in, because if you're building and you're not filming, it feels like you're wasting time. You know, if you don't have the time lapse of the camera going around the build as you're working and you're not making progress, it's like you're missing the clip that could be really cool in a YouTube video. Exactly. And I want my videos when I come back to be extremely cinematic, really well polished. So part of that is the fear too, but I have to let go of that fear, not to sound like a Star Wars quote or something like that. But you really kind of have to let go of like, what if I fail?
Do or do not. There is no try.
there is no trying. Literally just do it. And now I'm Nike, so I guess I'm quoting everybody at this point. So,
do it.
Do it. It's important to look at your passion, and even if it's 10 minutes a day of just putting a couple pieces together and not progressing, maybe you work backwards for the day. It will create something in the end, and it will be meaningful. So I've got Master Chief's helmet that just came in. Let me see if I can switch scenes here. You're gonna get a little jump scare from my friend. You can see like the mannequin that I have set up. That is the armor that I got in. I worked with a cosplay company for the last year to get some EVA foam armor for Master Chief.
That is awesome.
And then I have a friend, Brian Johnson. He is Johnson Arms Props on Instagram. And he makes a lot of these helmets. I can actually go back here to the first scene. The whole helmet wall that I have back here, there's a Master Chief up there that I think it's the Halo 4 model. You can't see it, but it's worth it for this whole helmet wall. So that's another love of mine.
Sick. I've been seeing some like cheap ones on Amazon. I'm like, ooh, like the plain white phase 2 clone helmet. I'm like, I kind of want that. It's only $100. I know it's not going to be like super, super nice, but I want it because it looked good.
It's a gateway, unfortunately. It all started in, I believe it was also Portland at another convention. There was a Boba Fett helmet, the Black Series one, the newest Boba Fett, and he's always been my favorite Star Wars character. I'm basic, but sure, I love him. And it was signed by Tamira Morrison in a glass case. It was one of the 300 that he had done. It was $600, and I was there with my friends. And they looked at me, and I saw the look in their eyes. They're like, "You won't do it." So I asked the shop keep, and I said, "Hey, can you ship this to my house? When I go back home." He said, "Sure." Signed Tamira Morrison Boba Fett helmet has gone home, and since then, I was actually just Boba Fett for Halloween. I got the full cosplay.
Speaking of that is sick, and I love that's our thumbnail, dude. That thing, beautiful.
Awesome. I was worried about it because I didn't get it finished in time for Halloween. I had a lot more that I planned to do with it. I planned on really doing a backplate with the jetpack, and it's like, okay, sure, it's unfinished a little bit. Just do it again. So I put the backpack on a zip tie and I strapped it to my back, and we got the photos. I was very thankful for my girlfriend this year for also being Fennec Shan to compliment that. A lot of people didn't, know Star Wars or know the character. Sure, it's niche, but for us, it was really cool to be Boba Fett with a jetpack, with a helmet signed by him, with the armor. I mean, how that's why I build life-size replicas. It feels cool to be in that world.
Right. Especially that one-to-one world. It's like I remember, I know this is a little bit side topic, but RC cars and having them perfect, the way that they move, because off-roading in Baja is very big to me. And having art, I never got them, which is totally fine. But my friends always did. My buddy, he always got them, and I played with those things for hours, man. And it's just that feeling of even though you're not in that shot per se, or in that movie, or in the car driving, it's that feeling of imagination and bringing it to life is what it's all about.
That's what Lego is all about, is the creativity and imagination. I mean, the minifigures are a representation of us, right? In this little tiny plastic world. So that's all what it's about.
Right. I feel you. Not to go too far back, but working at the Lego store at Legoland, did anyone ever recognize you?
I had one. And it was because I wore a name badge. They let us customize them.
Nice.
Which I was really grateful for at Legoland. So I had Smaug, the Hobbit dragon. I had his head peeking up over my badge, and that was my favorite thing. Is everybody loved the dragon, and they would all play with the wings. And I put my own logo on one of the bricks, and I put it underneath because, of course, I was a college kid. I wanted to self promo. It was funny,
right?
So somebody did come in and recognize me and said, "Okay, I used to watch your videos when I was little," and that just broke my heart because I felt old. It's been so many years. But it didn't happen too much because it's mostly kids that are coming in, and they don't play too many older kid video games and stuff. But I think that was actually much better. That it didn't matter who I was. I was just a huge Lego fan. I didn't need to show it off. I didn't need to over explain to the kids, "Oh, you don't know what this piece does? You're not a real Lego fan." I got to see their world and how they interpret Lego. And, even if they called Minecraft Steve completely wrong, it still matters to them. They still bought that set. They went home, they played with it at the end of the day. So I think I will always tell everybody that starting in retail is an important job because it teaches you how to connect with people.
Definitely.
Another kind of side tangent related to this. When I filmed my first YouTube video, I was 15 years old with that iPad outside, and I vividly remember I wasn't even recording yet, and my voice was shaking. I was so nervous to get started with this, and then when I started recording, nobody was even watching yet. The video wasn't done or out there, and I was having voice cracks. I was almost breaking down in tears. And then after working at Legoland and having that daily interaction with maybe people almost punching me, this crazy things happened. That was my last day that somebody actually threw a punch at me in the store because I told them they couldn't smoke in there. So, there's things like that happened. But all in all, that's the perks of a retail experience. But in the end, that turned me into such a better person that I was able to look at parents, kids alike, and communicate with them on different levels and read them, understand what they're looking for, understand who they are, and absorb a little bit of that. Because those kids really did love Lego. they would go there and they were so excited to see all the stuff that I'm so used to.
Right.
And it was always a new experience. So I wasn't always looking out for the secret shopper thing that they do. But I was able to pick it out when they did, and we got an 100% score on that report because, man, we made that family's day in the whole store. Everybody worked together to really make this an experience. And it's just a solid team to work with. So I really think it's an important part of my life.
No, definitely. And I think that's awesome. I can relate when you said secret shopper, I instantly had flashbacks, dude, because I worked retail. Do you know the surf company Rip Curl?
Yes.
Yeah, so I worked for one of their shops as a supervisor, and I remember we could always spot out the secret shopper because like they would look at a flip flop for just a little too long and a little too interesting than someone else would, you know. But yeah, I 100% agree with you because like you were paid to have to talk to people. You couldn't just be in the shadow, otherwise you're just gonna get let go. And like whenever someone walks in, you have to be the first one that says hi. You got to do this. You got to ask them how their day is. You got to make that sale, you know? But like, there's been so many great connections that you make with people. Like people were having the greatest day ever and people were having the worst day ever. And just saying hello to them or with you, like helping them with that Lego set, with showing them with that Lego set, like this is what you can do. Just breaks their day open even more wide.
Oh, absolutely. And you can only imagine at a theme park at 9 o'clock at night, your kids are screaming, you're ready to go home and everybody's in the store. We had some days in the summer where there were 20,000 people in the park and they all went through my register at some point. You know, even the Kardashians and stuff like that came through. It was crazy some days. And still I took the time to almost like take a step back and treat everybody individually and as a new experience. And it was never mundane. One of my favorite parts was when we got the life-size Lego Bugatti in. They had the 1-to-1 scale Bugatti that they had been touring around. We finally got it at the store. And because I was such a super fan, they let me guard it. And so I remember walking around and every time a kid would, you know, try and touch it, obviously, and have to say no because all we had was these little stanchions. But still, they all saw that and they're like, oh my gosh, it's a life-size Lego car.
Right.
And that was always kind of the fun part of it too. Like we had the Lego Masters builds from season 1. Tyler Kleitz he's been a good friend of mine too. And knowing these people that were all on the show, I could talk to the kids and be like, oh yeah, that peacock that's up there by Sam, I know him. That's kind of cool. And then whoa, you actually know these celebrities on TV. And it was all just good experiences. And I think that was very valuable too, to be able to make a difference in their lives, even for one day. Is all that mattered.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Do you I know we only have a few more minutes left because sadly I have to go like right at 8.
No worries.
It's been great talking to you, and I hope to have you on again if you'd love to be a returning guest. It's been awesome talking to you. But before we close, has there been like a super sweet, like not super sweet, but like your most favorite celebrity that maybe A-list celebrity or like B-list celebrity or even just someone in the Lego community that came to your shop, like, and you got to talk to them, and like, was there like a favorite one out of everybody?
I'm always going to be partial to people in my community. I think Nick will always have such a place in my heart because of what he's not just given to me, but what he's been able to teach me. And be there just as a friend too. I feel like Nick has been there since the beginning. Even when I started my channel, I was really just I would say a suck up to Zazi Numbies at the time. I was always messaging him like, hey, you ever want to get on a video call? I'd love to meet you. Always in his comments, trying to get that top comment. But then I started to kind of tone it down a bit when I finally made contact with Nick and he started actually responding. And that was the first time I realized that this is a community of people. I don't need to constantly be commenting on everything. Just be authentic. And since then, I've been in constant communication, learned so much on the engineering side, learned so much on just the process side, learned so much on the emotional and human side too. That I feel like I've taken in such a well-rounded view of life from him. So not a paid promo either, just all around a really solid person. And I'm very grateful to have people like Nick in my life and always there alongside me.
Agreed. Yeah, I haven't met him. Maybe I have talked to him over Instagram before, but I won't say that I have because I don't remember. But what I've seen about him and like what I've just on social media through everything, it's like he seems like that top-notch quality guy. And that when that one company like totally copied his Appa build, I was like, hey, I got salty. I was like, you can't do that to my boy. I'm like, I don't even know him, but it's like just the people who are so genuine in life. It's like you just instantly want to stand up for them. And I think that's awesome that you guys have that relationship together.
Super Absolutely. Cool.
Super
it's
cool.
A good community, and it's a niche area of the Lego sphere too. Like, sure, Satsi Nambi's used to be he was the most popular Lego YouTuber so many years ago with over 1 million subscribers, but that doesn't mean that this is the biggest Lego community. A lot of people don't know that people like me build life-size replicas of video game weapons, because some of them either don't play video games or they just watch Lego Minecraft videos, for example. So it's humbling to finally be something new and refreshing in the community too.
Definitely. If you had one thing to say to new fans of Lego to this day, what would you tell them right now?
3 words. It's gonna sound horrible, but
not three things. Sorry, did I say 3 words?
Oh no, I've got 3 words, which would really be. I think it sounds horrible if you look at it at face value, but the 3 words would be focus on yourself.
Yeah.
Because there are so many people that start up a social media account and their whole purpose is to become a part of something, to become part of this group, to join XYZ. If your only focus is on something other than yourself, you won't stay in this. And I've experienced it over the last several years. When I started posting, it was purely just to get to XYZ level or become this. And that's not who I was meant to be. I'm not meant to be a 1.4 million sub YouTube channel that's posting every single day and being super inauthentic and YouTubery. I can't stand that kind of charismatic side of it, of just the fake personality. So I've realized that my place is kind of somewhere else, is in the background, being a facilitator, being able to support others. And sure, I'll have my time in the spotlight when I finally finish this Halo stuff. This is going to be epic, but that's not the focus right now. So the ultimate goal for new fans that are getting into this is take some time to figure out what it is that you really enjoy doing with this. And even if it is overdone, even if it won't get popular, do it, because that's why you're in this in the first place. It's not for the views. It's not for the likes. It's not for the subscribers. It's for you. And if you really do enjoy what you're doing every single day, the subscribers will come. They'll show up and they'll be more real as well. They're going to engage with you. They're going to understand you, because they almost are you in a sense, because you brought them into your world. So focus on yourself and make it your world.
Dude, I'm inspired, Bryce. I'm inspired.
That's what I'm here for.
Well, man, it has been awesome getting to know you and getting to talk to you. Thank you for being a guest on the Late Night Lego podcast /show. I haven't decided which one I'm going with, but it's been awesome, man. I look forward to having you as a returning guest in the future. And I hope you have a great night, man.
Yeah, an absolute pleasure to be here. And great to have everybody else alongside, and looking forward to meeting all of you guys as well. If you want to reach out, more than happy to chat.
Yeah. Oh, if there's anything you like to plug, especially for the future builds, I know we've been talking about that. Anything?
I just like the color purple. That's about all I've got. You'll see me at a convention, probably rocking something like this. I'm not scary, so if you ever want to say hi and you see me around, feel free to walk up. But the social medias will come back. Not yet, but all in due time, right?
Definitely. Well, thanks again, dude. It's been awesome, man.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Take it easy, everyone.